At trade talk, the U.S. and China, the only solid agreement was to keep talking. China reports no breakthrough, but some consensus, despite the sides being very divided. The primary demand of the U.S. team, a significant reduction in the trade deficit. CGTN's White House correspondent Nathan King joining us from the newsroom with more on this. And Nathan, what more can you tell us about these talks?
Well, there's been no really big official statements on either side, just a few words. And even though the talking is continuing, although we don't have a date for future talks yet, the sides seem very, very far apart.
What agreements were reached, we don't yet know, but both Chinese and US officials have agreed to keep talking at least. According to a statement from Chinese news agency Xinhua, both sides recognize that given the considerable differences still exist on some issues, continued hard work is required for more progress. As the US team headed back to Washington, US President Trump sounded optimistic.
I have great respect for President Xi. That's why we're being so nice, and we have a great relationship. But we have to bring fairness into trade between the U.S. and China, and we'll do it.
The White House issued a statement saying the talks were constructive, though the two sides remain far apart. The United States delegation affirmed that fair trade will lead to faster growth for the Chinese, United States and world economies. But the U.S. negotiating documents shared widely with U.S. media revealed demands over and above what Trump has publicly asked for, including a $200 billion reduction in the Chinese-U.S. trade deficit by 2020, halting subsidies for key industries under Made in China 2025 plan, ending technology transfer requirements for U.S. companies doing business in China, and strengthening intellectual property protections. Also demanding that China drop World Trade Organization complaints or impose any retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. Will the U.S. hold off on imposing tariffs on $150 billion worth of Chinese imports while the talks continue? A big question for global stock markets and tens of thousands of businesses potentially affected by the trade dispute. If the White House proceeds, China has vowed to slap tariffs on imports of U.S. aircraft, vehicles and soybeans, or just stop buying them. Then there are the U.S. plans to limit Chinese investment in the U.S. in technology and communications. Will the plans go forward, or will they be put on hold?
And Mike, you saw pictures there of ZTE, and during the talks, Chinese negotiators brought up that recent case of the cell phone company. The U.S. Commerce Department, of course, banned ZTE from buying American-made parts for 7 years, a ruling that could essentially destroy the company. U.S. negotiators said they would report China's stance to Donald Trump. Now, cases like ZTE and others are considered kind of a test right now about whether Washington is willing to make concessions as well as the demands we just outlined.
Interesting. CGTN's White House correspondent Nathan King reporting from our newsroom. Thanks so much.